The stars were quiet that night. Out beyond the edge of a dying nebula, a massive alien freighter drifted toward a hidden station. It carried something special, something the galaxy's most feared arms dealer had been waiting for. Rumors had spread for weeks about this delivery. Entire syndicates whispered that the cargo was powerful enough to wipe out fleets. Weapons beyond imagination, paid for with blood and treasure. The docking alarms echoed across the bay. Heavy doors opened, and guards armed with plasma rifles lined the platforms. The dealer himself, towering alien with scarred skin and eyes, sharp as blades, stood at the front. He had seen everything the galaxy offered: cannons, warheads, antimatter bombs. He had bought and sold it all. But tonight, he expected something greater. The freighter lowered onto the docking pad with a deep metallic groan. Steam hissed out from the landing gears. The dealer's lieutenant stepped closer, eager to see the cargo. Everyone expected giant crates, glowing cases, or armored containers filled with destruction. But as the ramp slowly lowered, silence filled the air. There was no cargo, no stacked weapons, no cases of explosives. Instead, a single human walked down the ramp. He was tall but not monstrous, strong but not covered in alien armor. His uniform was plain, his boots steady, his hands empty. No weapon on his back, no crates following him. Just him, one man. The guards looked at each other in confusion. Then laughter erupted across the bay. The dealer's lieutenants sneered. "This is the weapon Earth sends us." One barked, "This fragile thing." Another spat on the floor. "Where are the crates? Where are the rifles? Where is the arsenal you promised?" But the human said nothing. He kept walking, his eyes calm, his steps steady. He moved with the silence of someone who carried no fear. The dealer raised his massive hand, silencing the laughter. His voice cut through the air, sharp and cold. "Where is my shipment?" The human stopped in the center of the bay. He looked around at the dozens of alien guards pointing weapons at him. He studied the walls, the shadows, every escape route, and then his eyes returned to the dealer. "You have your shipment," the human said, his voice steady, almost quiet. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the bay filled with roars of mocking laughter again. The sound echoed off the steel walls, loud and cruel. Aliens bent over, clutching their sides as they laughed at the tiny creature who dared to stand before them. The dealer smiled darkly. "One human, that is what Earth sends. Do they mock me?" The human tilted his head slightly, his eyes unreadable. He did not smile. He did not laugh. He only whispered, "I am the weapon." The words were not loud, but they carried through the docking bay like a cold wind. The laughter died slowly. Some of the guards exchanged uneasy glances. Others tightened their grips on their rifles, as if something unseen had pressed on their chests. The dealer frowned, his voice turning sharp. "Do you think you frighten me? Do you think one human can replace an arsenal?" The human did not move. His silence was heavier than 1,000 words. His eyes did not blink. His body did not shift. He simply stood, unarmed, surrounded by dozens of hostile guards. And he looked like he had already won. The docking bay grew quieter. The alien guards who once laughed now stared. The dealer's pulse quickened, though he would never admit it. Something about the human was wrong. Something about the way he stood calm, unafraid, like a storm waiting to break. One guard stepped forward, raising his plasma rifle. "Let me kill him, master," he growled. "He is no weapon. He is meat." But before the dealer could answer, the human's eyes flicked toward the guard. Just a glance, calm, controlled, and chilling. The guard froze. His hands trembled. His trigger finger hovered, but never pressed. For reasons he could not explain, his heart pounded in his chest, as if warning him not to move. The dealer clenched his jaw. He did not believe in fear. He believed in power. Yet something inside him whispered that Earth had not mocked him. Earth had warned him. The human took another slow step forward. The sound of his boots echoed on the steel floor. Every echo sounded like a countdown. 1, 2, 3. The alien guards lifted their rifles, aiming at his chest. The dealer raised his hand again. Stop. His voice cracked with a sharp edge. The rifles lowered, though unease hung heavy in the air. The human finally spoke again, his voice quiet but filled with weight. Do you truly not understand? Earth does not send weapons. Earth sends us. The dealer stared, his mouth dry, his thoughts racing. He wanted to laugh again, but the sound would not come. Something deep in his instincts screamed. This was no fragile being. This was not a mistake. The shipment had arrived, and it was far more dangerous than any crate of weapons he had ever seen. The docking bay remained frozen in silence. Every alien's eyes stayed locked on the human standing in their midst. No one spoke, no one laughed, no one even breathed too loudly. For in that moment, they all began to understand the truth. The weapon Earth had sent was not a bomb, not a rifle, not an arsenal. The weapon was a man. The air in the docking bay felt heavy now. The guards had lowered their rifles, but their eyes burned with insult. To them, this human was no weapon. He was a joke. The silence only made their anger sharper. One lieutenant, a huge alien with armored scales across his chest, stepped forward. His voice rumbled like thunder. You dare to stand here with empty hands. Do you think we fear you? You are flesh. We are iron. The other guards cheered, pounding their weapons against the floor. Sparks rang out with each strike, filling the bay with noise and fury. The human did not move. His eyes scanned them slowly, as if counting each one, measuring them, memorizing them. His calmness was like ice against their rage, and that calmness only fed their anger more. Another guard spat at his boots. One human, Earth mocks us. They send cattle instead of guns. The human's eyes lifted. He did not bend down. He did not wipe the spit away. Instead, he looked at the guard, quiet and cold. You speak too loudly for someone already dead. The words cut like a blade. The guard snarled and raised his plasma rifle, ready to fire. But before he could pull the trigger, the dealer's voice echoed across the chamber. Wait. The guard froze mid-motion. The dealer's gaze stayed fixed on the human. His instincts warned him that something was wrong. He had seen many soldiers, many mercenaries, many assassins, but none looked like this one. This human was too calm, too certain. The dealer narrowed his eyes. You say you are the weapon. Then show me. What are you? The human tilted his head. He was not smiling. He was not proud. His voice was steady, sharp, like a quiet storm. I am what your armies fear in the dark. I am what your fleets cannot stop. Earth does not give weapons to others. Earth is the weapon. Some guards laughed, but their laughter was softer now, uncertain. Others shifted their feet, their grips, tightening on their rifles. That strange feeling of pressure returned the feeling that the walls were closing in. Though nothing had moved, The lieutenant with the armored scales roared and charged forward. His claws slashed through the air, sharp enough to cut steel. He expected to see the human torn apart in one strike, but the human stepped aside with impossible speed. One movement, one blur. The lieutenant stumbled forward, confused, before the human's fist connected with his chest. The sound was not like flesh hitting flesh. It was like stone cracking. The massive alien fell backward, his armored chest shattered. He gasped for air, his eyes wide with shock. The bay went silent. The other guards froze, staring at their fallen comrade. The human stood still, his hand dropping back to his side. His breathing was calm, his face unchanged, as though he had only brushed dust from his sleeve. Whispers spread like fire. Impossible. He crushed him with one strike. No alien could do that. The dealer's jaw tightened. For the first time in years, he felt something he thought he had buried long ago. Fear. The human looked at the rest of them, his eyes sharp, his voice low. You think you outnumber me, but numbers are nothing. One human is not weak. One human is enough. The guards raised their rifles again, but their hands shook. Some looked to the dealer for orders, but his lips did not move. The silence pressed, heavier and heavier, until one guard finally shouted in desperation, "Fire!" Bolts of plasma ripped through the air, glowing blue streaks tearing across the bay. The blasts smashed into the walls, burned through crates, and lit the room in flashes of fire. But none of them touched the human. He moved like a shadow, weaving between the blasts with speed too fast for their eyes. One guard fired again and again, only to find the human already behind him. In one motion, the soldier twisted the weapon from the alien's hands and snapped it in half like glass dot. Another guard screamed and swung a blade. The human caught his wrist and twisted. Bones cracked. The blade fell. The guard dropped to his knees, crying out in pain. The bay was chaos now. Guards firing, shouting, falling. The sound of metal breaking, weapons shattering, bodies collapsing, and through it all the human moved with precision. No wasted step, no wasted strike. Every motion was exact, deadly, and final. The laughter was gone now. The mockery had turned to silence. And then silence had turned to screams. The dealer could not believe what he was seeing. A single human, unarmed, surrounded by dozens of his best soldiers, and yet it was not the human who was. Outnumbered, it was his guards who were trapped with him. The last rifle fell to the ground with a clatter. The few guards still standing backed away, trembling. Some dropped their weapons. Others raised their hands in surrender. The human stood in the center of the bay once more, calm, silent, his boots on the steel floor echoing in the quiet. The dealer's throat was dry. His words barely escaped. What are you?" The human's eyes met his, and with a voice like a quiet storm, he answered, "The deadliest soldier humanity ever made." The words carried like thunder, and the bay fell silent again. The mockery was gone. The cold truth had arrived. The docking bay reeked of smoke and fear. The walls bore the scars of plasma fire. Crates lay shattered across the floor, and the once proud alien guards now lay scattered broken, groaning, defeated. Only one figure stood tall in the center of the chaos. The human. His breathing was calm, steady, almost too steady. His uniform bore scorch marks where plasma had grazed him, yet his movements had been too fast, too precise, to let a single blast strike true. He had no weapon in his hands, no armor on his body, yet his presence filled the chamber like a storm waiting to strike again. The arms dealer, still frozen near the command console, stared in disbelief. For years, he had armed warlords, pirate fleets, and syndicates. He had watched soldiers tear each other apart with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. But nothing looked like this. His mind screamed that this was impossible. One human could not destroy an entire squad. One human could not be faster than plasma. One human could not be a weapon. And yet, here he stood. The human's eyes swept the room slowly. The surviving guards who had dropped their weapons cowered back, some even pressing their spines to the walls, as if distance might save them. None dared move. None dared breathe too loudly. Then the silence was broken by a sudden growl. A massive figure pushed through the smoke, another lieutenant, taller and stronger than the one who had already fallen. His skin was plated with natural armor, his hands ending in claws like hooked blades. His voice was deep and full of rage. "You will not shame us, human," the beast roared. "You bleed like the rest. I will rip you apart with my own hands." The alien charged. The human didn't move. Not until the last possible second, when the monster's claws slashed down, the human's body blurred sideways. A hand shot out, catching the alien's wrist mid-swing. There was no struggle, no delay, only the sound sickening, sharp of bone snapping. The lieutenant screamed, but before the cry could echo, the human struck again. His palm slammed into the alien's chest. The armored plates cracked like thin glass, sending the massive body flying backward into a steel support beam. The impact shook the entire bay. The guards gasped. The arms dealer felt his own knees weaken. The human turned slowly toward the rest of them. His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of thunder. "Your fleets use cannons. Your armies use numbers. We do not. Humanity does not need weapons. Humanity becomes the weapon." His words crawled into their minds, burning away every trace of mockery. Then the human moved again, faster, sharper. Two guards tried to lift their rifles to slow. Their arms bent the wrong way before they even understood what happened. Another swung a blade, only to watch it torn from his grip and hurled into the wall. The human didn't waste strikes. Every motion was exact, efficient, final. The docking bay was no longer a battlefield. It was a demonstration. Each step he took was controlled. Each strike was deliberate. Every sound, the snap of bone, the crack of armor, the thud of bodies, hitting the fluorocode like a drumbeat of terror. And then, as if to make his message clear, the human stopped in the middle of the room once. More his eyes found the arms dealer, cold, sharp, unblinking. The dealer's mouth was dry. His voice stumbled out. What did Earth send me?" The human tilted his head, his face calm as ever. "They sent you a warning." The words were quiet, too quiet, but they struck harder than any blade. The dealer's mind raced. He thought of the other syndicates, the rival fleets, the empires rising on the edge of the galaxy. They had always laughed at Earth, called them weak, called them backward. But if one human could do this was what Earth trained, then every alien empire had made a terrible mistake. The human's boots echoed as he walked closer. Each step sounded like judgment itself. The dealer tried to stand tall, tried to hide the fear in his chest, but his voice betrayed him. Why only one? If Earth is so strong, why not send an army? The human stopped only a few feet away. His shadow fell across the dealer. "One is enough," he said. The dealer's heart pounded. For the first time in his life, the galaxy's greatest arms dealer wished for weapons he did not have. The human leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to a whisper that carried through the entire bay. "Do you understand now? Earth does not sell weapons. Earth sends us. And if one soldier can break your empire, imagine what happens if we send more." The dealer swallowed hard. The surviving guards looked away, ashamed, broken, afraid, and, in that silence, the galaxy's most feared merchant finally understood. The shipment had not been missing. It had arrived exactly as Earth intended, and the weapon was awake. Asterisk, the docking bay lay in ruins. Fires crackled in broken crates, smoke curled toward the ceiling, and the metallic scent of blood and ozone filled the air. Where once there had been confidence and laughter, there was now silence and fear. The humans stood in the center, unmoved by the chaos around him. His eyes were calm, his breath steady. It was as if none of this surprised him, as if everything had gone exactly as planned. The arms dealer, once proud and untouchable, now felt small. He had traded in weapons for decades, supplied wars across entire star systems, and made kings kneel. But never not once had he felt powerless, until now. He tried to speak, but his voice shook. What are you, really?" The humans' gaze turned toward him. Those eyes did not carry anger. They did not carry mercy either. They carried truth. "I am the result of history," the humans said quietly. The guards who still lived exchanged uneasy looks. The arms dealer frowned, confused. "History." The human stepped closer, his boots echoing across the steel. "You think Earth is young, weak. You see our world as small, our armies as nothing compared to your fleets. But you do not know what shaped us." His voice grew stronger, steady, carrying weight with every word. For thousands of years, humanity fought itself, kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation. War never left us. We built weapons, destroyed ourselves, rebuilt again, only to fight once more. We faced extinction not once, but many times. Yet each time we survived. The bay was silent. Every alien present hung on his words, even those clutching broken bones. The human's eyes narrowed. "You built empires in peace. You grew strong on order. We grew strong in chaos. You evolved in safety. We evolved in war. That is the difference." The dealer swallowed hard. His thoughts raced. He had always seen humans as unpredictable traders, minor players in the galaxy. But the way this one spoke, the way his presence filled the room, he began to understand. The human continued, his tone colder now. "Your soldiers are trained to fight wars. Humans are trained to survive the end of the world. We do not fear destruction. We come from it. That is why one soldier can do what armies cannot." One of the surviving guards, trembling, whispered, He's not lying." The dealer clenched his jaw, trying to hold onto his pride. "You expect me to believe that an entire species is living weapons?" The human tilted his head slightly. "Not all of us, but enough. Enough that when the galaxy comes for us, we do not fall, we answer. That is why Earth sent me. Not to sell you weapons, not to give you power, but to remind you who you are dealing with." His words struck like fire. The guards shifted uneasily, their eyes darting to the dealer. Some looked as though they wanted to flee. Others simply lowered their heads, unable to face the truth. The dealer's pride cracked. For the first time, he asked a question he never thought he would. Then why? Why send you here? Why not destroy me? Why not crush my empire? Human's expression did not change. His voice was calm, sharp as glass. Because destruction is easy, fear lasts longer. The dealer felt his chest tighten. He realized then that the battle had never been about this station or these guards. It had been a message, a warning to Hermand, to anyone who dared to challenge Earth. The human took another step forward. His shadow stretched long across the floor, reaching the dealer's feet. Understand this. You wanted weapons to rule the galaxy. Instead, you learned the truth. Humanity is the weapon, and weapons cannot be controlled. The bay grew colder. Even the fires burning in the corners seemed to dim in the weight of his words. The dealer's hands trembled, though he tried to hide it behind his robes. His voice cracked when he finally spoke. If this is true, then the galaxy is doomed. The human's eyes locked with his. No, the galaxy is warned. Every word fell like a stone into the silence. The guards did not move. The dealer did. Not move. Even the hum of the station's engines seemed distant, as if the universe itself held its breath. And then the human turned away, his boots echoing across the steel floor once more. He walked calmly toward the ramp that had brought him, leaving behind broken bodies, shattered weapons, and a room full of aliens who would never see humanity the same way again. The dealer finally collapsed to one knee, sweat dripping down his scarred face. For the first time in his long, violent life, he knew what true terror felt like. Not because of weapons, not because of armies, but because of a single human who carried the weight of Earth's history in his fists. And as the ramp closed behind the soldier, one truth spread through every trembling alien heart in the bay. Earth had not delivered weapons. Earth had delivered a warning. Asterisk, the human was gone. The sound of the ramp closing behind him lingered like thunder in the docking bay. Smoke still curled from shattered crates, and broken weapons lay across the floor. But the silence was heavier than the destruction itself. The arms dealer sat slumped near the command console, his once-proud frame trembling. Around him, his surviving guards did not speak. They did not move. Their eyes were wide, their hands weak, their pride broken. For the first time in decades, the most feared dealer in the galaxy had nothing left to sell. He had seen something no empire wanted to believe, something no fleet wanted to face. One human had walked into his stronghold and torn down his army like it was nothing. And worse than that, he had left alive. The dealer understood what it meant. This was no accident, no mistake. Earth had sent that soldier not to destroy him, but to break him, to make him speak, to make him spread the story, and he would. He had no choice. The whisper spreads days later. Word began to travel, not in official reports, not in government channels, but in whispers. Smugglers whispered it in dark corners of cantinas. Mercenaries muttered it in hushed tones aboard their warships. Pirates spoke of it before battles, warning their crews. The humans, they don't send weapons. They send themselves. Some dismissed it as rumor, a story told to frighten soldiers. But others had seen the fear in the eyes of those who survived the station. The whispers carried weight, and soon those whispers reached the ears of generals, then admirals, then kings. Entire councils gathered in silence, debating the truth. Could one human truly do what the whispers claimed? Could one soldier break an army? Those who had fought, humans, before nodded grimly. They remembered past battles. They remembered victories that had cost too much. They remembered the stubbornness of humans, their refusal to surrender, their strange strength when the fight should already be lost. Now the galaxy saw it differently. That stubbornness was not madness, it was power. The fear grows in the following weeks. Warlords who once mocked Earth grew cautious. Fleets that had planned raids on human colonies quietly shifted their targets elsewhere. Syndicates that once demanded human trade routes now gave them space. It wasn't respect, it was fear. Fear of a truth none of them could deny. If one human could do this, what would happen if Earth sent more? The arms dealer himself became a broken prophet. His voice shook when he retold the story. His pride was gone, his empire shattered, but his words spread like wildfire. I saw it, he told anyone who would listen. One man, no weapon, and he destroyed everything. You fools chase after rifles and bombs, but Earth builds. Monsters in human skin. His words, dripping with terror, only fueled the legend. The lesson etched in stars on Earth, the mission was marked as complete. The soldier returned without fanfare, without reward, without even a word of recognition. He didn't need it. His presence, his survival, was enough. Humanity had not sought glory. Humanity had sent a message. The galaxy now understood something it had ignored for too long. Humans were not to be underestimated, not to be mocked, not to be provoked. The story spread across the stars like fire across dry grass. And with each telling, it grew sharper, scarier, heavier. They asked for weapons. Earth sent a man. They laughed. The man killed them. One human is an army. The final memory in the quiet of his broken station, the arms dealer often closed his eyes at night, hoping for sleep. But sleep never came easily, because when he closed his eyes, he saw them the human's eyes, calm, unblinking, inevitable. The eyes of someone who did not see himself as flesh, or soldier, or man. The eyes of someone who saw himself only as the weapon. The arms dealer knew then that the galaxy would never recover from this truth. Empires might fight, fleets might rise, but deep down, every alien heart now carried the same unspoken fear. If Earth ever decided to unleash its soldiers, no force in the stars could stop them. And so, the message was etched into the galaxy forever. The deadliest weapon in existence is a human.